Hey folks, in my aircraft design course, I'm having my students CAD their airplane design in some 3D modeling software. And so I was going to walk through a quick screencast on how I would do it if I was using Blender. So I'm using Blender 2.79b. I'm pretty sure at the time of this release there is a newer version, but most of the stuff is pretty similar. So I'm just going to dive right in. So let's see. I guess I could go over just quickly how everything works here. So this is your default cube here. If you right click this, this is your default light object. This over here is your camera. Again, if you right click that, that's your camera. If you move over here, you can resize this window and you can bring this window, oops, you can bring this window down here. And you can see you've got a camera, a cube, and a lamp. If you click this camera button down here and hit render, it will render the cube. And if you go down to this lower left hand thing, you can go back to the 3D view. If you hold I strongly recommend using a mouse. If you hold the middle mouse wheel, you can move the entire rendering environment around. You can scroll in and scroll out to move that around. One thing that I think is kind of neat is that if you hit the N button and lock the camera, or sorry, and then you go to view camera, this is what the camera sees. And I can grab these little X, Y, and Z things and I can move the light source around and I can hit render again and you'll notice that the light is different. And if I move it to the other side now and hit render, now my light source has changed. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I think that's kind of like the most of the main things. I'll chime in with some other stuff in the future. So what I want to do, and I already kind of did this, is I basically want to make this, and I'm going to try to do it a little bit better. It's not the greatest CAD of an airplane, but I'm going to try to do something similar. So the idea is that I have this photo. So my grad student has already started building this plane, and this isn't the greatest photo, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to import this photo into Blender and then basically try to map that to a screen. So I'm going to left click just anywhere in the screen and click Shift A to open up this mesh or open up this window, and I'm going to click Mesh Plane, and that's going to create a plane. Now I'm going to hit the R button and then the X button to rotate around the X axis, and if you just type in 90, it will put the plane into, it'll rotate it around the X axis. Then if you hit the S button, as in Sally, for scale, you can scale this up, and then I'm going to view from the front, yeah, and then I'm going to get rid of the view perspective, and now, again, if you hold, so I forgot to tell you a couple of the controls. So the middle mouse wheel will rotate around, scroll in, scroll out. If you hit shift and then hold down the middle mouse wheel, you can just move the whole thing around. So scroll in, scroll out with the middle mouse wheel, hold the middle mouse wheel to move it around, and then hold shift to go to pan. So again, I'm going to go to view, and if you have a numpad, like my laptop doesn't have a numpad, so I have to click this view button, but you'll notice there's a bunch of hotkeys for everything. And then by the way, like I don't know if I said the other day, probably 5 minutes ago, that if you hit the N key, this toolbar pops up. If you go to view, you can see that the properties toolbar is here, and there's a hotkey N. So as I tell you all these hotkeys, like there is a button you can press, but I've just kind of learned the hotkeys over time. So again, I'm going to click front, and then I've already clicked the camera perspective, so that's good. So this, if I click my object, this is currently at 0, 0, 0. My plane is at X, Y, this. I'm going to make the Z axis 0 and the X axis 0. The Y axis, I want it to be a little bit over to the right, just so I can see it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my file manager, and I'm literally going to take this and drop it into there. And you'll notice that it just drops the plane directly in there. So what I need to do now is I need to move it down, because what we're going to do now is we're going to make this cube as big as this. So if you look over here at the location and scale, I can change the scale on the x-axis, I can change the scale on the z-axis, and the y-axis you can't see it unless you pan, but I can change the y-axis as well. There's also hotkeys for it. So I can hit SX, so S is in Sally, X is in xylophone, and I can scale that up. So again, I'm gonna front view this guy. I'm gonna scale in the Z, make that that big, scale in the X, make it that big. Now, before I keep moving, I do want to kind of round the front edge, and I want to sort of sculpt this out. So if I go into edit mode, I've got these two vertices here, and I'm thinking what I need is I need a vertex down here at the bottom, a vertex here, and then maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4 vertices here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit A to, you can toggle A to select all of the things here. So I'm going to hit Control R, and Control R creates what's called a loop cut. And if I move my mouse, you can see like what I'm doing is I'm going to start loop cutting. And so what I'm going to do is I remember counting 4, so I'm going to count 4 there, and I had to scroll the middle mouse wheel up. Again, I'm going to hit Control Z, so Control R until the purple line pops up, and then I'm going to scroll up until I get to 4, and then I'm going to left click and then left click again. And now I've got all of those loop cuts here. Okay, so now what I'm hoping I can do is I'm going to hit Z to go into so I can see it from the front view, and then I'm going to hit B, and I'm going to select all of these. And the idea is that now I can just kind of move these around, and I'm going to try, and again, I'm going to go back to my front view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a subsurface modifier eventually, and I'm going to try to just map or match this little, contour here. And so it's not going to be great, but it'll sort of it'll do what I want. And unfortunately, when I hit Z, I lose the picture. So I'm just going to have to kind of pan around to grab those other two vertices. And then again, go to the front view. I'm going to move this a little bit forward. And again, I'm just sort of matching the, and then to select multiple vertices, you hold the shift key, and then you right click. Back to front and move that forward. And I think that looks pretty good. I mean, I think the back, that looks pretty sloped. And again, I'm going to add a subsurface modifier at the end. So then comes the front, right? So the front of the airplane. This is an airplane, right? And probably bring this guy in a little bit. Let's see, front view. Yeah, that seems pretty good. And then these guys definitely need to come in a lot. Again, front view. I guess what I could do is I could box it. That'll grab both the vertices. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then hit Z again, and then just kind of move it in like that. So I'm gonna hit A to toggle, Z to toggle that. Hold B to box select. That will select the vertex on the back. Hit Z again, and then move it until I have the contour in the front that I want. And this actually, I'm actually kind of pleased with this. This is turning out pretty good. And then there we go. Okay, so if I hit tab again, pull out of edit mode. So again, I held tab to tab that in, and then that should be good to go. Now the one thing I'm concerned about that I'm looking at this now, if I scale this in the Y and make this a little bit thinner, I mean that looks pretty neat, but I'm not entirely sure how I want to like curve the outside. What I'd probably have to do, curve the front, is go into the top view, yeah, and then this is probably what I'm gonna have to do is do a loop cut this way, yeah, and then maybe do 4 again. I think 4 is pretty good, and so now that seems pretty good. I like that. So again, go back into the top view, and then what I can do is I wonder if I should do some proportional editing. So if I click this vertex here, and then go down here to the bottom right and click enable for proportional editing, now what happens is when I grab this, it'll actually, move all of those vertices. And so what I can do is I can hit G for move and then X to restrict it to the x-axis. And what I'm thinking is maybe I can, no, that's not going to work. That proportional editing is not going to work. So, let me pause for a second. Okay, so what I figured out was if I select all of the vertices and then hit GX, now it sort of moves the whole thing, which is really nice. That's a very, really cool proportional editing there. And then by the way, you can scroll in and out to, make the proportional editing more pronounced. So, by the way, and since there are vertices on the left and the right, and I want to do this symmetrically, what you'll notice is on the bottom left here. Okay, hang on. So I'm going to do the move. So over here, you'll notice that there's a bunch of tabs. But if I hit GX, notice that now it says D0.000, and it'll tell me how much it moved. So what I can do is I can hit like negative 1.0 and hit OK, and then go to the top view. And I kind of like that. And then what I can do essentially is just grab these vertices again, sorry, not again, but the ones on the left, hit GX minus 1.0, and that should give me a nice rounded contour. That looks great, man. I'm really excited about that. That looks great. Okay, so the next thing that we got to do, not top, front view, is go ahead and make this tail boom here, right? So I'm going to go into edit mode. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab these guys, right, and then hit E for extend, and just extend that out. And went a little bit too far, and I realize I still have proportional editing turned on. I'm going to turn that off so I don't mess this up. But that looks, let's go back to front view, and then bring that in, and there we go. There's my tail boom. So, okay, cool. So I have a tail boom now. So I've got an airplane that is slowly taking shape. All right, the next thing I want to do is go ahead and pop up this motor mount. So again, go into edit mode, and it looks like what I'm going to have to do is do a loop cut. Oh dear, that's not good. Okay, so unfortunately it made a loop cut as a function of this contour here, and that's not good at all. So I think we're going to have to hit Control Z a few times, and then go into edit mode, do a loop cut. Ooh, no. I did not know that was going to happen. Okay, shoot. I guess it's kind of annoying. Starting from scratch. Okay, so I need to go into edit mode and loop cut, and I need probably, I'm going to say 4 loop cuts there, and I'll worry about those vertices later. Okay, and then shoot, I'm going to start all over. I guess I'll pause and I'll come back when this is done. Okay, folks, so I just basically redid that entire thing. You'll see I have my vertical loop cuts here. I contoured the front, I contoured the back here, and then I pulled this out, the tail boom. And so now what I can do is, if you look here, I've got one vertex here, and I think this one extends up, and then I've got a vertex here. I'm not sure I'm going to need these loop cuts over here. I guess I created more than I needed, which is not necessarily a big deal. Yeah, I think it's fine. So I'm going to, you get out as much as you put in when you do a project like this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just grab this guy here and extend it up like that. And there's click the front there, and then grab this there. That looks decent. I could probably grab like maybe these 2 vertices, but I do want to make a loop cut before I do that. There we go. I kind of want to grab these 2 vertices here and maybe do a front view there and sort of move them over and up. Yeah, I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, so there's the front there, and then, the motor mount. And then basically what I want to do is grab these guys here, and I kind of want to turn on proportional editing again because I want to move this out. Oof, wait. GX. I only want to grab the front vertices. Yeah, boom. And then do a front view. Yeah, that looks great. All right, there we go. Boom. So there's my airplane. At least the fuselage. The fuselage is done. So now it's time to get rid of this plane. And in plane, I don't mean like airplane. I mean like plane, like a 2D plane. And so I've got my fuselage. It doesn't look great, but again, I'm just trying to CAD something, from scratch here. And so now what I want to do is I want to put a plane here on the bottom, and then go into a top view and put this at 0, 0, and then scale it up, and then go back over to my photos and grab this layout, and then there's my layout there, and I'm going to hit RZ and rotate it 90 degrees. Okay, I'm going to RZ again 180 degrees. There we go. And just line up the plane here with this layout. This layout is to scale. I drew up this layout in Inkscape. And you'll notice there's the fuselage looks pretty good. It does taper here in the back. So maybe we can, select these guys over here on the side. And then do like a GX, like a proportional editing. I think I'm going to have to grab these guys too, just the whole side, GX, yeah, and just kind of sculpt it there on, oh, I forgot to see, so GX, how far is that? That's like 0.6, so I'll say 0.6, and then I'll do the same thing on the left side, grab all these vertices, and then GX 0.6, there we go, and then that kind of shaped it a little bit in the front. Okay, cool. So we did a little boat in the front. It's all good. All right. The other thing I've noticed is the tail boom is too long, so I'm going to hit Z, grab these vertices. I have to hit A to deselect, and then hit Z to bring it back and pull this tail boom in. So there's my tail boom. Okay. So there's the right scale for my tail boom, and then what I can do is I can make my wing and my tail. Let's do the tail first because it's a flat wing. So I'm going to hit Shift A and create a cube. Go into the top view and then move this cube over. I guess I can do a Y coordinate of 0. And then let's see, I can scale this in the Y, make it like that. And then I think I need one loop cut. And then hit escape. I think what I need to do is grab these vertices and then move them down. Yeah, that works. And then line that up. And then, oh, you know what? I should have done that with the number. So what is that? Like negative 1.4. So I'll go negative 1.4. And then I'll hit A to deselect, Z to toggle, hit B to select all these vertices, GX minus 1.4. Hit Z again, and that should be my airplane tail. Oh my gosh. So obviously it's way too thick, so scale it in the Z, and then move it up so it lines up like that. And then I think probably the front here, whoa. I think I selected, oh, well, it wasn't in edit mode. Okay, there we go. Now I'm in edit mode. All right, so I'm gonna pull that back. Okay, so that needs to go like there. Okay, cool. All right, so I've got a horizontal stabilizer that looks pretty sweet. Okay, so then I'm gonna right click this and hit Shift D, and that basically just makes another one. I'm gonna hit the Z coordinate so it only moves about the Z axis, and then I'm gonna rotate it about the X axis 90 degrees. And then what I need to do is, this is my vertical stabilizer, I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm actually going to select all these vertices down here and delete them and click vertices. Now, you might think you're done. The problem is that if you look here at the bottom, there is a hole in there now. And so what we need to do is go into edit mode, and right now I can click vertices, or select vertices. I'm going to click this line edge tool, and now I can select edges. So now I'm going to hit the shift tool and select all these edges, hit F, and now I've got a face there. So it just makes the object solid. So if I did this right, I should just be able to scale this down and pop that bad boy in, and there we go. We got a tail. That looks great. I'm excited. This looks way better than my other airplane that I created. All right, so now let's make a main wing. So shift top, and I'm actually going to do this a different way. So I'm going to create a plane. Yes. Rotate this about the x-axis 90 degrees. And you know what I should do? I should probably go to grab a picture of an airfoil. Let me go do that real quick. All right, so I found a picture of an airfoil online, and I created a plane and just dropped it in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a plane on top of it, and again, rotate it, move it up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to decide, how accurate do I want to make this airfoil. So I'm going to go into edit mode and make it so I can select vertices again. And I think I'm in edit mode. Can't tell. Yeah, I'm in edit mode now. Okay, those dots are kind of hard to see. Anyway, so I'm just going to create loop cuts. There we go. And I guess, again, it just kind of depends on how many I want. And then create loop cuts again on this axis. And there we go. Oh, this is going to be terrible. Huh, maybe I didn't want to do that. Let's go. Can I just double click? All right, let's get the overall, let's do this. Let's get the overall shape of the airfoil. And this is not, oh, dude, I have proportional editing turned on. Okay, there we go, there's that. Yeah, it looks like an airfoil, great. Okay, so then let's proportional edit. Oh boy. And then let's grab this guy, move it up. Yeah, okay. This is gonna be terrible, but it'll be okay. That'll be like that. That'll be like that. Yeah, I like this. I'm okay with this. This bottom's flat, so that's done. Then we just need a loop cut this way. Oh, look at that. It even added the camber. That's cool. Oops. Loop cut. You have to click twice when you do a loop cut. So GX, so move that there. And again, this is just a plane. So I'm going to extrude this once I'm done. The idea is I'm making the airfoil, and then once I'm done, I can extrude it. You know what I'm saying? Making my way downtown. I'm in the zone here. I am an airfoil master right now. Maybe not a master. All right, dude, that looks freaking great. I don't know why I hit the middle mouse wheel. That was an accident. There we go. It's not quite flat at the bottom. Let's move that down. Boom. Okay. So there's our airfoil. So I should just be able to get rid of that guy. And now I have an airfoil. Okay. So it is rotated the wrong way. So I'm going to RZ it 180 degrees. And then I'm going to go into edit mode, select all the vertices by hitting A, and then extrude this bad boy. And there we go. Boom. So there's a wing. All right, so I'm going to go into the top view. Boom. Ooh. Okay, so there's a problem here. Notice that the origin is over here at the left, and so I have to move it, with respect to that. So if I hit RX and rotate it, it's going to rotate about that. I want it to rotate about the center. So over here, there's a set origin, and I can do geometry to origin, and what it'll do is just move the geometry to the origin, which is pretty nice. So now again, I can go into a top view, and I can, this is what's kind of annoying. I'm gonna scale along the X, because I gotta get my chord length correct. Well, so first, let's put it in the center. Okay, and then let's scale about the Y. That looks pretty good about there. Scale along the X. That looks pretty good, and then The airfoil is pretty thick. So we'll scale along the Z, flatten it out. And that looks pretty slick. So we'll just pop that in. We don't have to worry about, I mean, this is a pretty crude CAD. And, just judging by the way I made my airfoil or my airplane, where the motor mount is and how this contours, I'm going to move my wing back, which actually is probably going to be a good thing for stability. Actually, I just realized, like in my layout, my airplane wing is probably way too far forward. I wouldn't be able to make the CG correct. I'm actually kind of glad I CAD'd this because definitely want to make sure, because you want the center of lift, you want the center of mass to be right here, and the motor is going to be back here, and the tail boom is going to push a lot of weight. So we're going to need to put like the battery and a lot of the electronics in the front to offset that CG. We might even need to put lead weights. Hopefully we don't, but yeah, I want to move this wing back as much as possible. So there's my airplane. So I don't need this plane down here. And I'm just curious. Let's see how this looks. So there's my camera view. I'm going to click lock camera to view. I'm going to, kind of stylize this photo. And then I'm going to click the render button and hit render. And let's see how this looks. So, we're getting there. We're making progress. All right. So we'll click this button down here, hit 3D view, and pull out of this camera view, and we're good to go. So I'm going to get rid of N. So I think the only thing that I want to do, again, you get out as much as you put in. What I'm going to do here real quick is I'm going to add a cylinder. So I'm going to hit Shift A and add a cylinder and rotate this. No, I don't want to delete it. Rotate this along the Y-axis 90 degrees. I'm going to create a motor mount. So I'm going to pause. I'm going to create a motor mount. I'm going to throw a propeller on there, and then I'm going to come back in a second. I'm just going to kind of mess around, and I'll come back and show you what I did. Okay, folks. So all I did while I was gone was I added a motor mount, a prop shaft, and then like a little cylinder for a propeller. And then obviously this is terrible, but I literally took my wing and copied it twice and scaled it and rotated it, and I just put it here and made a two-blade prop. So I honestly think my plane's done. I think as some finishing touches, I'm going to go ahead and throw that subsurface modifier on here, so subdivision surface, and that just kind of smooths it out. You can see, this is 1, 2 subdivision, so looks like 3 actually looks really smooth. I definitely like that. Let's click the render button and let's see how that looks. Yeah, so that looks really slick. I really like how that turned out. I'm very pleased with that. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some environmental lighting. So rather than using that single light source, right? You could, okay, another thing that we could do is this lamp, right? Where's the object properties? There it is. We could turn it into a sun, okay? And there's the sun angle. And so now it's more of a sun. Yeah, I kind of like that better. So it's not a light source, it's a sun. I kind of like the shading on it. I am going to, and notice you see the sun angle, you can change that. I'm gonna go back into the camera view. I am going to pop out a little bit and kind of move it around. I don't want the sun in my shot or it's gonna be blinding. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. And then next thing I'm going to do, lock camera into view. What I want to do is I want to create a texture. So this is the texture, and then go to the world texture and click a new texture, image or movie. And what I want to do is I want to add, go to the desktop, Blender, and I think it's this one. I hope. Yeah, there we go. And then let's see if that, no, that didn't work yet. So there's the texture. Here's the world map. Okay, so I need to, I think there's a way to tell it you want a horizon. There we go. And now it should pop in. So yeah, so now it's on the horizon. The difference is that notice how it's like kind of scaled badly. So I'm going to move this up, and I think I need to make this 2, and then this 2. This changes the size. I think I made it too small on the y-axis. Let's just see what happens if I render that. Oh, it actually turned out just great. Okay, cool. So now my airplane's in the sky. The propeller is off. There's no, I mean, this is the thing. Again, you get out as much as you put in. Like I could add, aileron surfaces and control rods and things like that. And I mean, you could do all that if you want, but I mean, this kind of looks fairly decent. So that's good for my render environment. I do want to add some materials. So I'm going to go to the materials tab, and this has a material. I'm going to make this sort of black for carbon fiber. And then I'm running out of battery life. This is also carbon fiber, so I just select the same material. The prop and the motor mount and the shaft, I'm going to make a new one and make this sort of gray. Make the prop sort of gray, so I just select the same material. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. My computer is freaking out because I'm running out of battery life. And then I'm going to do some USA colors, so USA the school, not USA the country. So I'm going to make that red, and then make another material. Make this guy blue. Just change the diffuse color to blue. And then go ahead and go back to the render button and hit render. And then there we go. There's my airplane. I think it looks very nice. What I can do here is right now I've got 50% on the resolution. So I can scale that up to 100%, hit render again, and now it's going to be a little bit bigger. And so now I've got a really nice photo of my airplane. And then I can click image, save as image, and I can go to the desktop and go to Blender and call this meta render, except call this number 2, right? And hit save as image. And then I should just on my desktop. So this is the one that I made last night to practice. And this is the one that I just made with y'all. And man, I think I did a way better job. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned a lot with Blender and you can see what you can do. I am very terrible at Blender, by the way. So I just know a little bit about how to do things and whatnot. So if you have some questions, post in the comments. Hopefully you learned something. And I'll see you in the next video. And hopefully in the next video, I'll be flying this thing. Because I say me. It's really my grad student. My grad student is actually building this airplane out of carbon fiber as we speak. And so hopefully the next video you see is of this plane flying. I'm excited to see it. So see y'all in the next one.